Hello and welcome to this tutorial for the Turkish cast on for my classic comfort beanie. If you don't already have the pattern, you can find a link to it in the show notes below. Let's get started. Okay, so for our Turkish cast on for our hat, we are going to need two sets of circular needles. I am going to be using a 16-inch or 40-centimeter needle. That is for the main body of the hat and will be the kind of main working needle. My second needle is about the same, it's the same diameter, but it is on a longer cord. If you happen to have two that are the same, that's fine. I just find that if you have your second needle a little bit longer, it gives you a little bit more flexibility to get the cast on joined in the round. So you'll see what I mean about that momentarily. But if all you have is two that are the same length, that's fine. It's a little bit fiddly, but it can work just as fine as well. So what we're going to start with is a slip knot, and we're going to pop that. I'm going to pop it onto my longer needle here. So this is the needle that is going to hold on to the provisional cast on. Okay, so we've got our slip knot there. And then we're going to take our second needle and we're going to stack these. Just get both of those yarns out of the way. We're going to stack these so that the one with the slip knot is on the top. And then we're just going to take our working yarn and wrap it around both needles as many times as your pattern calls for cast on stitches. So if the pattern tells you to cast on 90 stitches, you're going to wrap 90 times. So each one of these wraps around both needles counts as one stitch. So I've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and you're just going to keep wrapping until you have the number required. Okay, so now that I've got all of the stitches that are required for the cast on, I'm going to hold the tail here securely, and I'm going to turn that pair of needles 180 degrees. And now what I can do is I can pull this bottom needle out of the way a little bit. So having the longer cord there allows you to do that, get it out of your way. And you're going to pick up the other end of what is now the top needle here. So this is the one we're going to be working across. That's my 16-inch needle. And I'm going to insert it into that loop just between the needle and the cord of the second needle. And knit that stitch. And the next one. So we're just going to knit across all of those stitches, and you'll probably notice that yarn's got a bit tangled there. You'll probably notice that this might seem really kind of loose in here, and particularly as you go, it will probably feel more loose. And that is because now that the stitches, we sized them by wrapping them around the needle, but now they're only wrapping around the cord. So they've got a little bit of slack there. That is absolutely fine. Don't worry about it. Just go ahead and keep knitting across all your stitches until you get to the end, and you may need to just kind of readjust, shuffling them about over both needles. Okay, so I'm now finished working across all those stitches for the first row, and it's time to join this in the round now. So first of all, as always, when joining in the round, you just want to make sure that all your stitches are lined up. Nothing is twisted. Looks good. And this is definitely where it's a little bit handier to have a longer needle holding on to the cast on stitches, because otherwise the tips do kind of get in your way a little bit. But as I say, if all you kind of have is two 16-inch circulars, that's absolutely fine. You could put a needle stopper on that bottom needle that's holding the cast on stitches just to make sure that they don't slip off. Or you could transfer them to a barber cord or some scrap yarn if you're finding that the needle tips just are getting in the way too much for you to work. Okay, so now that I've checked that everything is not twisted, and I'm just going to kind of hold the tips from the longer needle out of my way, and I'm going to go straight into that first stitch, knit it, and we're now joined in the round. And you're just going to continue working across all the rounds in stockinette until you are ready to fold over your brim. And so you can see here that as you get a little bit more fabric going there, you'll have all your cast on stitches here kind of live on the needle, and then you have your working stitches up here, and that fabric will just continue to grow in between the two needles. And that's Turkish cast on.